to another episode of Inside TYPO3. After a busy few months of traveling and TYPO3 related events, we're looking forward to closing the season out with one of the biggest ones of the year, T3CON 24. The conference will take place in Düsseldorf and spans over 3 days with an awards ceremony to celebrate the winners of this year's TYPO3 awards on the last night. We did an episode back in August to help the community prepare for Developer Days, and we followed the same format for this special episode. We bring Luana Valentini, Senior Communications Manager at the TYPO3 GmbH, on to talk about the format, different sessions and speakers, along with her advice for how you can come prepared.
So, Luana, welcome to the show. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
If I understand this right, we've got two major events each year, the one being the Developer Days, which I think we've talked about once or twice on the show, and we've got T3CON at the end of the year as well. And these two events kind of operate independently and serve two very different audiences, if I remember, with the Developer Days being focused more towards developers and integrators who use TYPO3, and T3CON being aimed towards more the business side of an organization that uses TYPO3. Is that kind of right?
Yes, that's right. So at T3CON, we're aiming to host web professionals, developers, marketers, decision makers, agency leads that their business is to sell and market TYPO3. And yes, we will have attendees that also use TYPO3 on a daily basis. So editors, integrators, admins who want to learn from less from the developer side, how to make the most out of their TYPO3 project. But we're also looking at our ecosystem and the tech world from a broader sense, because we want to enable and empower our attendees to go out after 3 days and say, okay, I learned something for my daily business, and I'm inspired to make some changes.
And am I right in saying that even if you don't use TYPO3 day to day, if you're working in our industry, in our world, there will be talks of value to you as well, even if you don't use TYPO3?
Exactly. So the main difference, I think, to past TYPO3 conferences and other events, like you mentioned, the Developer Days or any camp, for instance, we handpicked each session that is going to be on the main stage, which means that we invited speakers to come on stage about topics that we haven't decided on beforehand, but there's like a common thread to each day, which I'm sure we'll get to. But so we want to show what you can do for your agency. How can you stay agile? What is going on in the open source sphere? How can you cater to your specific sector or constituents when thinking about the public sector? So yeah, we're trying to cover a lot of topics that don't necessarily mean that you have to use TYPO3 on a daily basis.
And let's step back just a little bit more. This is taking place at the very end of November here in Düsseldorf, and it's taking place between the 26th and the 28th of November.
That's right.
And that's at the Ariel Bohler Arena in Düsseldorf.
Ariel Bohler.
Thank you.
We'll always get corrected.
I think that's our Easter egg for the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's end of November. It's taking place in Düsseldorf. It's aimed more towards decision makers and businesses that use TYPO3. And even if you're not using TYPO3 right now, there's plenty of information and talks that are relevant to you as well. Okay, I think we've got that covered.
Yeah.
So, as I understand, day one is aimed purely at the German or the DACH market, and it's going to be in German, and it's free for people to attend, and it's aimed primarily at public sector organizations and the education sector. Is that right?
That's right, and thank you for pointing out. Yes, it's free for all attendees, but you still have to register, so we welcome everybody listening to this and hearing of this for the first time to visit T3CON24.typo3.com, and there you can register for this first day. And yes, this will be held in German purely because our market share, TYPO3's market share in these sectors governmental institutions and the higher education sector is quite high. And we have a lot of agencies catering to these businesses. And there are topics that are best covered in German because, as you can imagine, the two of you feel more comfortable, obviously, speaking your mother tongue. And so do all of these TYPO3 users and editors. And this day was added to the regular conference. So we don't want to interfere or mix it up with the more broader international days of TYPO3 conference. So we decided to hold this in German.
And as we're talking about adding this day, because again, since I've been working on this event for many months with you, Luana, I did know that this was a new addition to the format, but I want to go back a little bit and talk about the brief overview and the history of T3CON. So I know that there was a break for COVID and that it came back last year and was very successful. But since this will be our first T3CON for Tom and I'm curious what you know about the history of it, even before your time with TYPO3 or in the community.
Yeah, so I started to work with TYPO3, I don't mean the GmbH, but in the CMS sphere in 2018. So that was also the first year I attended T3CON, but I did take a walk down memory lane and found out that back in 2005, the very first TYPO3 conference was actually called TYCON 3. I think the year after they changed it right away and it became T3CON 06. And it has traveled throughout Europe. There were 2 conferences, I believe, that were held in Dallas called T3CON North America. Very, very interesting findings. But I think from a structural standpoint, the biggest difference is that there was not always, but there was a day preceding the actual conference, full with half-day workshops. I found Jochen Weiland, who's very well known in our community, back in the day was holding these workshops already. I saw some pictures with familiar faces. I saw Kaspar Skarhoy, who created TYPO3 back in 1998, or maybe before that. Really, really interesting. And then it made its way to the last conference before the pandemic break was in The Hague, was being organized by MaxServe, and it took place in a hangar. So that was a really, really interesting venue. And I really enjoyed being in the Netherlands for a conference. So that took quite a journey. And then unfortunately, a 4-year break due to the pandemic. And we came back last year in Düsseldorf, and I was already involved in the organization of that by then.
Oh, wow. Well, that's very interesting to know that it dates all the way back to 2005, and also that a few of them were held in Dallas, which seems like a very interesting location given the other venues. And when I think of T3CON, of course, I think of it taking place in Germany. So the Dallas setting seems very interesting to me. So as we're talking about T3CON, newcomers, you've been to a handful yourself. What are some pieces of advice you would give to a newcomer? So someone attending for the first time, looking to, make sure that they're attending to all the talks they want to go to, but also staying comfortable and hydrated and fed. What would be your big takeaways for someone to have prior to coming?
I guess I would say to take a good look at the program and the session descriptions that we're adding to the website as they come in from the speakers, because since we don't have parallel sessions and we want to give people ample time to network, to get into conversations in the exhibition area and be able to really talk about their needs or find leads from an agency's perspective, whatever your goal is for the conference, and decide beforehand what are the must-see talks that you really want to attend and the accompanying lightning talks, and decide based on that how much time you want to give the networking aspect of it, because we really want to emphasize that, because we want to broaden the community in the last years, and I think the two of you can speak to that too. TYPO3 has become a little less developer oriented over time, and if we want to give that a little more focus with an event like this. So so that would be my main tip. Look at the program, decide beforehand what you want to see 100%, and then find conversation partners around that. But you will be hydrated, and there's catering and everything, so that's not an issue.
Perfect. And I was also going to say, for Tom and I, we're very similar in this regard. At a lot of conferences or camps that we've been at together, we're always looking for 10-minute breaks of fresh air and not burning ourselves out on the first day, because they are long days and it's a lot of information being processed. So yeah, taking breaks to go outside, get some fresh air, caffeinate appropriately, things like that.
Yeah, but the big difference, I guess, to other TYPO3, at least the community events, with sessions not being in parallel, you get plenty of time to do that.
Let's just go back to the calendar again, if we can, just for a second. So the Public Sector German Speaking Day is on the 26th of November. Then the first international day is on the 27th of November, which is a Wednesday. And I can see what you mean now about the single track approach going on here. And it looks really interesting, the fact that looking at the schedule for Wednesday, you're absolutely right in the sense that there's only ever going to be one talk on, which I really think is a really good idea, because you can kind of enjoy each of the talks and not have to worry about deciding which talk to attend at any given point, which is really interesting. So for the folks listening at home, the first day of the International Day starts about 9:30 with Frank Schmidt giving the introduction talk, followed by the opening keynote by Jeffrey Maguire. And then that runs on till about midday with a lunch break, which we would expect to happen. And then things kind of wrap up around 8 o'clock in the evening with the AMA taking place. And then the same thing happens all over again on Thursday with the introduction talk at 9:30. And we see the same order of business for the Thursday as well, which is good. Talk us through the venue as well, if you could, because if I understand correctly, this isn't going to be a hotel lobby or venue as such. This is quite a different venue compared to past events.
That's right. Areal Böhler, we are going back to it because we were really happy last year. We're changing the layout of the stage and the audience a little bit, but the exhibition area will stay more or less the same. So any gallery you find online will give a good picture of what it's going to be like. It's an industrial venue, and you can tell by the brick and a lot of iron and what it used to be. When you get to the area, either by car or with public transportation, or with the little scooters coming from the hotels close by, you can see straight away that it's a large area with a lot of parallel events, a lot of suits for sure, different conferences happening at the same time. And the venue we have, well, actually we booked 2 venues because there will be the TYPO3 award at the end of T3CON. They have a very specific charm about them, and with our lighting and the exhibition area, I think it's a very special venue, and the images, the pictures that come out of it, they all look colorful, yet at the same time the venue shines through. I don't know how else to explain it. I invite people listening to this looking at our website. Yeah, it's a really, really special venue. I'm glad we're going back.
I would say industrial hits the nail on the head, because when I look at it, it feels very warehousey, industrial. And like you said, the colors in the photos really, especially from the awards event, it really makes it look special, even just from the photos. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And as we're talking about the awards and the ceremony, I know that last year it was black tie. This year we've communicated that it's more cocktail attire. So can you talk about the award ceremony, what people can expect from the dress code? Will there be dancing, a DJ, anything of that nature?
Yeah, so we changed the communication about the dress code just a little bit to accommodate whoever does not have time to get ready after day 3 of T3CON. But the style is somewhat businessy. So if you're just, not just, but if you're wearing a nice jacket, you should always feel comfortable among everybody else. But if you want to suit up, be our guest. I for sure, I love dressing up from time to time. So I'm going to bring either something shiny or a dress, a cocktail dress for the occasion. And yeah, we will be speaking to the moderators soon. One of them is already well known among last year's attendees, Matt Beadle, and he will be accompanied by Emily Wickham on stage. And yeah, we're planning the program as we speak. We have yesterday, actually, I'm not spoiling anything, we've had our jury meeting, and we know most of the category winners so far. We have to hand in those names this week because the actual awards have to be produced. But we don't know the website of the year yet, so that discussion is still open. And we will be handing out the awards throughout the night, and the ceremony will be interrupted by different courses for our dinner. So an entree, a main course, and a dessert. And afterwards there will be a party in the same location. And the main difference to last year is that we moved the TYPO3 award to the last night. So because the years before, I have to say, because I have attended two conferences beforehand, if you want to celebrate a really great night of great projects and in a gala, and everybody's dressed up and there's a little bit of alcohol involved, you'd want to celebrate. And it's tough to be then back at the conference venue at 10 in the morning, be concentrated and be respectful to the speaker on stage. So we decided to move it to the last night to just be sure that we can, all wind down for this occasion.
So we spoke with Daniel a few months ago about the change in format, like we've mentioned, and now knowing that the award ceremony is on the last day, which makes sense as a way to celebrate all the accomplishments and be able to do so however you need to appropriately and not have to go to another day of talks feeling a certain way. I think that makes total sense. But will there be any sort of party or celebration or drinks or little booth gatherings after days of the conference, or how will that look?
Yeah, so we have to close out every night in some ways. So we did it in two different ways. After the first day, there will be a little booth gathering, I want to call it. I don't want to call it booth party because people still need to be able to make dinner plans and deepen their connections that they made throughout the day. So there will be a small gathering after the last session at our partners Into Code's booth. So that will be on the Tuesday after the Public Sector and Higher Education Day. And because since last year, we have communicated from TYPO3 company standpoint, community, quite a lot of changes that came with the partner program. The association has an entire strategy it's working on. So things happening in the community. We decided that on the second day, which is the Wednesday, we will close after the last session. We will close with an Ask Us, Ask Me Anything format that will be fairly casual. We just want to show our faces and be ready to answer any question that may have come up in the past months since the last gathering, which might be the Dev Days or last year's T3CON. But we do know that we have attendees coming from all over the world. So we want to be able to be ready to have conversations with everybody attending.
Having conversations with other people in the community, I think this resonates even more with T3CON this year, but I know that people from around the community are looking forward to catching up together one more time before the year ends and things wind down a little bit. But for you, Luana, what are you most looking forward to at this year's T3CON?
I'm actually really curious about the first day's panel discussion about the government site builder. It's quite exciting that the Federal Ministry of Interior agreed to come on stage and be at one of the exhibition booths together with TZ-Bund. Again, both of these entities responsible for the GSB 11. So that panel discussion for sure will be a highlight of day one. In general, I must say, when I think about last year, the feedback that we received from the community quite openly and right after the conference, I'm curious how they respond to the changes that we've made, if they notice the changes that we've made and listen, and they notice that we listen to their feedback. And yeah, and I probably look most forward to the award gala, I would say, because it was really an emotional event last year, but also very laid back and people enjoying themselves, enjoying the work done in the past year. Also, I think 3 weeks before Christmas, when before the season starts, to have this sort of business event to close the year before everybody starts thinking about getting back to their families and planning for Christmas and all these things, I think is a really cool opportunity to wind down.
Thank you ever so much for dropping by today. It's always nice to have you on the show, and we hope to see you again as well. And perhaps most importantly, we'll see you in Dusseldorf at the Ariel Bowler Arena in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much for having me.
In next month's episode, Tom and I will share highlights from the event with special interviews on site and our recaps from the various sessions. We hope to see you all there, but if you can't make it, we'll be sure to make it feel like you were there with us.
Ariel Bowler, close enough.